Inherited disorders are conditions that are passed from parents to their offspring through their genes. These disorders are caused by specific alleles, which are different versions of a gene. The way in which these alleles are inherited from parents determines whether or not an individual will have the disorder. Cystic fibrosis is an example of an inherited disorder caused by a recessive allele. In genetic terms, a recessive allele is one that only causes a disorder when an individual inherits two copies of it, one from each parent. If an individual inherits only one copy of the recessive allele, they will be a carrier of the disorder but will not actually develop the disease. This means they can pass the allele to their children, who might develop the disorder if they also inherit a second recessive allele from the other parent. Cystic fibrosis occurs when a person inherits two defective copies of the CFTR gene, which leads to the production of a faulty protein that affects the movement of salt and water in and out of cells. As a result, people with cystic fibrosis produce thick, sticky mucus that can clog the lungs and obstruct the pancreas, leading to severe respiratory and digestive problems. The recessive nature of the allele means that two carriers of the allele have a 25% chance with each pregnancy of having a child with cystic fibrosis, a 50% chance of having a child who is a carrier like them, and a 25% chance of having a child who does not carry the allele at all. Polydactyly is another inherited disorder, but unlike cystic fibrosis, it is caused by a dominant allele. A dominant allele is one that will cause a disorder even if only one copy is inherited from either parent. In the case of polydactyly, the disorder results in a person having extra fingers or toes. Because the allele is dominant, any individual who inherits it from one parent will develop the condition, regardless of the allele inherited from the other parent. This means that if one parent has polydactyly and carries the dominant allele, there is a 50% chance with each pregnancy that their child will also have the condition, even if the other parent does not have the allele. This dominant inheritance pattern explains why polydactyly can be more common in families where the allele is present, as it does not require both parents to carry or pass on the allele for the disorder to appear in their children. Advances in genetic science have made it possible to screen embryos for genetic disorders before they are implanted in the womb, a process known as pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, PGD. During in vitro fertilization, IVF, eggs are fertilized by sperm outside the body, and the resulting embryos are allowed to develop for a few days. At this stage, cells can be taken from the embryos and tested for specific genetic disorders, such as cystic fibrosis or polydactyly. This screening allows doctors and prospective parents to identify whether an embryo carries the alleles for these or other genetic conditions. If an embryo is found to carry a genetic disorder, parents can choose whether or not to implant it. This process can help reduce the risk of passing on inherited disorders to future generations, giving parents more control over their reproductive choices and the health of their children. However, the ability to screen embryos for genetic disorders also raises ethical questions and concerns. Some people worry that it could lead to a slippery slope where embryos are selected not just for health reasons, but for other traits, such as physical appearance or intelligence, leading to ethical dilemmas about the extent to which humans should intervene in natural reproduction. Despite these concerns, embryo screening remains a valuable tool for preventing severe genetic disorders and improving the quality of life for children who might otherwise be born with these conditions. In conclusion, inherited disorders like cystic fibrosis and polydactyly are caused by specific alleles that are passed from parents to their offspring. Cystic fibrosis is caused by a recessive allele, requiring two copies for the disorder to manifest, while polydactyly is caused by a dominant allele, which only requires one copy to cause the condition. The development of embryo screening techniques has provided a means to detect these disorders before birth, offering hope to families at risk, while also presenting ethical challenges that society must consider.